I'm like following me, and I'm thinking like, what the fuck, dude? Like, is this a repeat? And it's right before dark too. I'll never forget. I see him go something like he's pulling up on me, dude, and I just like. Was looking, I was just like, are you fucking serious? And my boy done took off. So I took off around the other side of the vehicle, dude, and he's chasing around the vehicle, just unloading the fucking thing on me. And luckily, after like 3 or 4 rounds, I don't know if it jammed or he didn't have that much ammunition, because they're not allowed to have guns over there, and ammunition's like really hard. Like my Connect, that's all he wanted was ammunition. He kept telling me like, dude, bring bullets. I need bullets. I need bullets. And I was just like, fuck you.
So Jason, tell us, how do you end up beating the feds? I mean, you got this big Fed case. How do you beat them?
Well, I won one battle, but I lost the war. So the only way that you can really beat the feds, and I'm gonna make it really short, is you got to have an attorney that has your back. If you don't, they threaten, they extort them. It all comes down to money. So the first thing that my attorney had said, you got to remember, this is her first Fed case, never fought a Fed. She doesn't like to deal with the feds because her best friend was a Fed attorney, and he'd always complain about how corrupt they are. So she's like, you're not paying me nothing, Chad. Nothing. Pro bono. And I asked her why. She says, because they're going to threaten you with extortion of money laundering. And I'm like, do what? She goes, we're not going to get into it. I'll explain to you later, but do not give me one penny if you want, to beat these people. So I was like, okay, whatever. But she would have me pay for like legal expenses, like, like filing stuff, papers, whatever, like material wise stuff. I'd go get it and bring it to her. But other than that, I never gave her a penny. And she's like, you need to let me focus on something, not have them after me. And one day I get a phone call from a buddy of mine. He's not here no more. And he tells me, Jason, dude, Zach is talking crazy on the jailhouse phones. And I'm like, really? So I call up Brooke. I'm like, Brooke, we got to get these things. She says, far-fetched, but we're going to get it. We get them. When I tell you we got them, now you got to remember I had 7 people cooperate against me on the stand, a month-long trial. So I get him, and he's on the jail phone calls talking about like, man, F this fucking judge. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I don't care. I'm coming home. It doesn't matter. I'm going to tell them whatever they want to hear. And this is, and Chad, you can relate to this. And you've heard this 100 times. People that cooperate is 50-50 of what they're telling. So they're going to juice it up. They're going to add stuff because why do they want to, make it sound better? Because the better the story sounds, the more information they give them, the bigger their time cuts. So the feds knew the more you cooperate and the better you are, your testimony is, the more time they're going to give you off. So I had him on a jail phone call saying all this stuff. So when we went to trial and we're playing this stuff, the jury, you could just see the look on their face, and it automatically made every one of my snitches, or whatever you want to call them, that testify against me non-credible. Because then they had it in the back of their head. Are they all saying the same thing? Are they all doing the same thing? And literally when we played it on the stand, he just put his head down. And by the third recording of him talking about beating the judge up and he's pissed off at him and this and that, he picks his head up and starts laughing at the jury. And so like in my second case, when I lost,
I want to go back to the first case. So pretty much the jury finds you not guilty in the first case?
Finds me not guilty. It was a month-long trial. And the jury was out for 3 days. You got to remember, they brought specialists in. They brought everybody in. And my attorney just slowly beat them down. Now, this is a long road. So they knew they couldn't get my attorney to turn. And they put max pressure on her. So one day, it was a Monday. She just got back into the country. She went on vacation. And she was going to meet with me for lunch at 11:30, 12 o'clock it was, to go over something because they just did a big discovery drop. right before trial. It was like 3 months or something like that. And as we're sitting down eating, the DEA is kicking her door in at her house, and her phone is just blowing up, and she kept hitting it like, man, you know, whatever, I'm talking to you. Her clerk or her secretary or somebody comes running into the restaurant like, Brooke, they're raiding your house right now. You got to go. Like, they want to talk to you. And so she went and met with them, and she was crying. They were going to, so my girl was helping with all my stuff. So she was at Brooke's office every day, and they would show up all the time to harass her. And I kept asking her, what are they saying? She says, I can't tell you. I got to deal with these people on a daily basis. You just have to trust me. You got to remember, she's 30 years old, tiny little blonde, never fought a Fed case in her life, and won her first Fed case. And she said, you got to trust me. And that's why you're hired me. Because I gave all these big attorneys $100,000 put down just to take my case on. And they would literally go meet the feds and come back and be like, you're fucked. You need to take a plea deal. And I'm like, how do you know? And they're like, they don't play. At the time, I didn't understand this. I never dealt with the feds, never been in trouble with them or anything big, just small, dumb stuff. So I'm like, man, fuck this. And I kept complaining to Brooke. She took my case on. So she's like, you remember that? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, you have to trust me. I can't have you go around saying what they're saying to me. It was hard to trust her, but I did. And they played such a vicious game that one day she called me and was like, I'm going to put a motion in to get off your case. And then made me drive her 3 hours to the courthouse to get off. Luckily, the judge just doesn't let attorneys get off without a reason. And when he started digging into her, she backed out and said that, Your Honor, I'm just going to stay on the case, because I don't think she wanted a record about the stress and the harassment and the extortion they were trying to put on her.
The jury comes back. They say not guilty. How do you feel inside?
I didn't even hear it. I literally had told the story about how we were out in the hallway in front of the court thing, and I just seen the elevators open and people are just flying into my courtroom. And this lady came out and was like, hey guys, the jury came back with a verdict. It was day 3. And the day before that, we were eating lunch in front of this restaurant because they gave us a lunch break. And the feds, there was a prosecutor, DA, and FBI were walking down the sidewalk. And they stopped at our table out in front of this little sandwich restaurant and was like, hey, Jason, how you doing? Blah, blah. You mind if we sit? And I looked at my mom and my attorney and was like, I don't care. And they're like, we don't care either. So they sit down because I was curious what they had to say. I don't hate them. I don't like them, but I don't hate them. I have no hate for them. They didn't lie to me. They told me they're going to put me away. I just don't like it. So I don't have no hate. There's no reason to hate them. And so the prosecutor starts to tell me, like, Jason, he says, man, listen, it's not me that wanted you. It's a bigger thing here. He told me, he says, whatever you do, please take a plea deal in your other case. He said, they're not going to stop. He says, you beat them there, they're going to come again. You beat them, they're going to come again. He's like, they want to give you life. He says, just do whatever you can to take a plea deal and get this passed. This is bigger than what you think it is. And I was just like, I still didn't comprehend, Chad. I still didn't understand this whole system. And I'm just like, I can't. They want to offer me, I think my best plea deal at this time was 15 years with cooperation. And I'm like, I'm not cooperating against nobody. And they were like, the feds don't take non-cooperation plea deals at your level. They want all the information, and you're not a small guy. So I was just like, okay, well, I can't do it. And he says, Jason, he says, they're not going to stop. And I didn't know what that meant at the time. I know what it means now. So he told me, you're going to probably be the first person to ever beat me. So he already put that in my head, but I was thinking he was blowing smoke up my ass. So when I started walking down that hallway to go in my thing, I literally, my stomach locked up, Chad. It was the craziest thing. Like, one minute I'm telling my attorney, I'm like, dude, I think I got to puke. I got to shit. I'm like, oh my God, I think I got to shit. And so we go into the courtroom, and she's like dragging me because I'm just like, I black out kind of mentally. And I remember walking in and everybody's looking at me like I'm walking down the aisle to get married, because the courtroom's so full, my mom couldn't even find a spot to sit. And I remember going to and sitting down, and I was in the fetal position because I don't know if I told you, but I was going to get life. First time in trouble with the feds, first time going to prison, I was going to get life. And it's what they told me. I scored out, and I was the first person they picked. I remember that, but I don't remember the jury and them saying not guilty. They had to pick me up, Stan, because I was just locked up in the fetal position, sick, dude. Because I just thought, like, it's over. Like, I didn't know what to expect, Chad. I don't remember hearing it.
What was your plea deal for? You go to trial, but was there a plea?
There was a plea deal for 15 years, but I had a plea out to both cases, and I had to cooperate against Bahamas, my connect in Bahamas, my Colombian connect. I had to testify against the doctors. I had to testify against Purdue Pharma, Kessler, um, not Lewis Fisher, but John Sender, and then they wanted my Cali connect too, because we were moving at before all this about 500 to 1,000 pounds of marijuana a month to Florida while I was running drugs from Colombia.
What kind of drugs from Colombia?
Coke. So I started out, how this all came about was I wasn't in the drug game. I was actually trying to do the right thing. I was 19 years old, just turned 19, and there was kind of like a drought here. So my boys were like, man, we can't get no shit, blah, blah, blah. Well, I knew somebody, this Mexican dude, I knew him real well. And I knew he was in the game, but I didn't know his business. So I reached out to him. Hey, let me meet up with you. So I hooked my boys up, and it was like straight off the brick. It was so good, they said. So they were like, hey, can you call your boy? Can you call your boy? Well, it became a nuisance. And I'm like, why am I doing this shit for free? Like, I can go to prison over it. So I started charging, and I started buying a little extra, just hustling off the side. Before I know it, I was pushing, 2-3 keys a month, and started getting really big. And then all of a sudden he got in some shit. Something happened with some people getting unalived, and he disappears. So by then I'm in the game now. I'm addicted to the lifestyle, the money. I didn't do drugs. I wasn't even drinking. I was more addicted to the lifestyle. So I started looking for a plug here in South Florida. Couldn't find one for nothing. Like, everybody wanted to rob you. Everybody wanted to sell you fake shit. So I went to the Bahamas, and I ended up getting a connect in the Bahamas and started running. But the Bahamas is a problem because they don't get a lot of drugs. They get like 200, 300, 400 keys at the most, but there's 20, 30, 40, 50 people waiting for that shit. And then people on the island that want to buy it. So there's not a lot to grab. Sometimes you go over there and there's none. Sometimes you go, you might be able to get 5, 10. That's it. So I didn't know I knew somebody that's family was pretty much the Cali cartel. And they were brought over here when late 80s, early 90s, because when Pablo Escobar and the Medellin and the Cali cartel were feuding and fighting, they were shipping their families out because they would kidnap each other's families. So they shipped the wife and the kids over here, and I didn't realize I went to school with 2 of them. And
Stop you for a minute. Let's talk about the Bahamas. We'll get back there in a minute, right? So you go to the Bahamas. How old are you when you show up in the Bahamas?
21, 22.
Nervous going to the Bahamas looking for a drug connect?
No. I was pretty wild back then. I thought that shit was fun. Like, I was young. So Chad, looking back now, it was pretty stupid. But back then, when you're young like that, that shit's pretty exciting. I'm not gonna lie. It was a lot of fun. It was the thrill. My high was the thrill of being able to find a connect, be able to put it together. Like, that was my high. Like, can I pull this off? It was like a challenge. And looking back, I was kidnapped. I was shot at. Like, that's why I got out of the game. That's why I went into the pain clinic, because of that stuff. I had a daughter.
Talk about the Bahamas a little bit more, though, right? So you go over there. What's a brick cost back then?
So I first was paying 18.5 for a brick here back. I can't remember what year, 04 to 06 era. And it went up to like 25,000. Time I went to Bahamas, we were paying 32 for a brick here. And I was paying 13.5 for them over there. So sometimes I find, like, depending on how many I got and what shipment, if they wasn't like the high end quality, I get them around 11, but just say average 13,000.
So 13 grand. How many are you getting at a time when you first go over there? Going over there for 1, 2, 5, 10?
1, 2, I get up to 5. I think the most I ever got from Bahamas was like 10 from the Bahamas people, maybe 10. Like I said, there's too many people waiting. I thought the Bahamas thing was over with. You hear about, oh, it's nothing. No, you're literally sitting over there waiting for the shipment to come in. Sometimes it's waiting for you. Sometimes you have to wait for it because of weather. If the weather's bad, or if the Coast Guard is patrolling somewhere, because they move from island to island on them little boats. And so, like, if the Coast Guard, they'll hide out somewhere with the drugs. They'll hide out. So you might have to wait 2 or 3 days. And so sometimes you don't even get it because you're tired of waiting a week or 2 because the weather's bad. The Coast Guard is, patrolling in a certain area and they have to hold out. And so, I mean, the most I think I've ever got from the Bahamians is maybe 10.
And how are you getting it over here? Are you bringing it back? You having it shipped?
No, I'm bringing it back myself. I had offshore boats. I literally was running it all myself. We'd shoot over there real quick, take a couple hours to get there. We'd shoot over. Sometimes I'd check in, depending on how long I had to stay. I would literally sneak over there and get back without even checking in either one, over there or here. All the time I did it.
You're bringing your own shit back. You ever afraid when you're on that boat, like, man, I hope the Coast Guard don't get us?
Nah, it was exciting, man. It was a thrill. So when I first did it, Chad, I would put. So what I did was I mimicked like kind of like something like the weight of like the Coke, a key, and I had it in a mesh bag, and then I would put a weight, like a lifting weight in it. And what I did was, because I learned from a lot of old timers, and they're like, listen, keep it out, throw it over when they're coming, but you don't want to have too big of a weight where it goes straight to the bottom, because they'll go down and retrieve it. So the old timers are like, listen, because down here where I'm at, everybody I grew up with, all my dad's buddies, are all drug smugglers. A lot of them went to the feds. I mean, it was pretty wild back down in here in the 80s. So I had put enough weight in it to where, like, when you throw it overboard, it would like take forever to get to the bottom. So if you threw it over here, it might not hit the bottom for 2 miles. So they would never be able to locate it. So I did some testing to see how slow it would sink, and the current would just drag it as fast as possible and keep it up. So I kept it out on the boat. So if the Coast Guard came in on me or something like that, I was just going to sling the shit. That was the first 2 times. And then I had dive tanks made. So what I did was I had a bunch of dive tanks, and we cut the bottoms. So I don't know if you know, there's a plastic cap that goes on the bottom to keep from scratching up your boat and everything, and they sit in the things real tight. So we took the caps off and we cut them, had a machine shop cut the bottoms out, and we welded a bladder in it so you could still put air in it and go and top it off. And then we would pack it full. And then I had these little keys that you would tighten it to lock it into place, because we had like a machine shop cut like a little rim so it would lock in with the little keys. And then I'd take this little bit of putty and putty them over and sand it, and then I'd spray paint it and put the cap back on so you couldn't tell. And that's how we were bringing it back after all that.
You get kidnapped over there, you said, right?
So once I had cut the Bahamians out, I had got connected to a guy over there that his parents had something to do with the politics over there. I'm not sure. I never really got into it. He wouldn't tell me much. He owned a bunch of restaurants and stuff, and he ran all the underground casinos. So I don't know if you know, the Bahamians can't gamble. There's a bunch of casinos in Bahamas, but they can't gamble. So he ran all the underground casinos. So he had restaurants and all these businesses. In the back rooms, he had slot machines and all the stuff. And he had to connect out of Canada where he was getting all the stuff in, and he had people corrupted at the port to allow all his stuff to come in. So once I found out that, I was like, so what else can we get in? And he's like, why? What do you got on mine? And I'm like, I said, I can get a bunch of Coke in here. You want, like, what's the deal? He wanted a quarter of my shipment, which was a really good price, because to get keys out of Colombia, you're only talking like $3,000-$4,000 at the most to get it on the boat out of Colombia per key. And once I started doing my own thing, I ran a trial run. We didn't do much. We did small. And then once the second one, third one, the people, I don't know the full story. Common sense is telling me the people in the port, somebody there was leaking that what we had going on, and it was getting back to the local like gangs and stuff on the island, and they were trying to rob me. So we were coming to the parking lot one day, and at the hotel, and I pulled my boat up to the hotel because they're on the water in La Calle, Freeport, Bahamas. And I'll never forget, I was walking to the parking lot and all the cars are, pulled in. So I'm walking on the backside, and this car pulls up, the door opens, and they like grab me and drag me in. My feet are dangling. And so in Bahamas, like,
this is some real movie type shit.
Huh?
Some real movie type shit.
Yeah. So they dragged me in, and I'll never forget, my boys are just like, they were in front of me, and they like peel that around. And they're just like looking like, what the fuck? Like, so caught off guard, didn't know what happened. And like I said, so Americans are allowed to have guns over there, but you have to keep them on the boat. You have to check them in. I think no handguns. It can be like shotguns and stuff. Well, luckily I had my handgun. and in my back pocket. And I normally don't carry guns, but something just changed this day, and I just wanted to have it on me. And luckily it did, because when they had me, I pulled it out and I put it to the dude's head, and I started like talking about I was going to blow all their heads off and stuff. And I didn't see no guns in none of their hands. And I never forget, they slam on the brakes. I was so nervous. I should have got out with somebody and held them and backed up. But I like, as soon as they like stopped, the door still kind of open. When they stopped, it like flew open because my foot wasn't all the way in yet. So I kind of like got out, dude, and started backing up, pointing, and all four of them got out, and they're just looking at me and they're talking in some different language. And I'm just waiting for them to pull a gun out and start unloading on me. But luckily there was like, it was like 5:30 in the evening, so it was still light. And I'll never forget, there was like, there weren't like people standing there looking, but off in the distance, there's people. So they kind of like just let it happen and moved away. And then the second time, I think it was the very next shipment. We were picking up a pretty good shipment, and we were walking through the parking lot with a big cooler. So what I did was I would only go there for like a day or two, and I wouldn't fish or nothing, but my boat would be set up with fishing rods. Like I was going on a fishing trip. That's what I portrayed. So I would trade the Bahamians like chicken wings, all kinds of like food, Budweiser, Bud Light in the bottle, because it cost them probably like $50 for a 12 pack. So I would bring all that over and trade it for fish. So I would have a cooler full of fish, conch, lobster, everything you can think about. Like I just went on the like a week long fishing trip and just absolutely just slayed it. So I traded out, and we were walking back to the boat with the cooler in the same parking lot. And I noticed this dude like coming at me, and I'm like following me, and I'm thinking like, what the fuck, dude? Like, is this a repeat? And it's right before dark too. I'll never forget. I see him go something like he's pulling up on me, dude. And I just like was looking. I was just like, are you fucking serious? And my boy done took off. So I took off around the other side of the vehicle, dude. And he's chasing around the vehicle, just unloading the fucking thing on me. And luckily, after like 3 or 4 rounds, I don't know if it jammed or he didn't have that much ammunition, because they're not allowed to have guns over there. And ammunition's like really hard. Like my connect, that's all he wanted was ammunition. He kept telling me like, dude, bring bullets. I need bullets. I need bullets. And I was just like, fuck you. I would never tell him. And one of the guys that I went over there, I used to bring with me, we had got 10 unmarked guns that were not registered to nobody, clean, unmarked. And this stupid fucker sells 2 of them to the Bahamians over there. Within no time, we find out both of them are committed in murders. And like, so the last thing I want to do is arm my own, my connect over there to rob me, because there's a lot of money getting moved around.
I mean, I'm with you. So eventually you end up getting out of the drug business as far as the cocaine and all that shit goes, right?
Yeah.
All the way up now. Your pockets are big.
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm probably well over a millionaire. Asset, everything, money.
So now you end up getting into this whole pain clinic situation, right? How does that happen? How does that come about?
So when I went home from that trip, I was laying on the couch, and I had my daughter on top of me. She's sleeping. She's 6, 8 months old. I want to say more towards 6. So much has happened in my life, so the time frame is kind of hard. I remember her laying on my chest, and my phone was ringing, and it was Zach. And as I answer, and he says, "Are you home?" He's walking in my front door, and he starts to like come over, and he's like trying to take my daughter and like hold her, and he's like negotiating, like talking about, "I got a great business deal for you." And my ex is like, "Damn, get my daughter away from you." And he comes to me and was like, "Hey man, I need to borrow some money." And I'm like, "What for?" And he's like, "Listen, dude, I ran into this guy." The story I was told, they were at a strip club, and Zach was a drug dealer himself, but he was in the pill game. So he was doctor shopping, and he was a sponsor too. So what he would do is he would go as many doctors as he could and get as much pills, and then he would sponsor people to do the same thing. So he would pay them to go to get the pills. He'd pay for the visit, pay for the prescription, and then he would give them pills or so much money to go get it, and they would give him all the pills. And so he was doing pretty good. I mean, he wasn't big, but he was doing really good. And he bumped into one of the owners, and got to know him. And he's like, "Man, I could use somebody like you." Once he started knowing, it was Vinny Colangelo, which he was a fucking clown. He's in the feds, and just like the rest of them, he told on everybody. So I told Zach, and I'm like, well, why don't you go to your dad? He says, man, my fucking dad ain't gonna give me no money. He don't believe in me. And I'm like, well, why would I? And so I told him no. I didn't want nothing to do with the pill game. I just didn't trust it. I didn't know much about it. I just thought in my mind, Chad, and you could probably relate to this. There's no fucking way they're gonna allow somebody like me, not a doctor, no medical, no nothing, open up pain clinics. I'm like, dude, this is just shady. Come to fucking find out, I never even thought about it. Hospitals are not owned by doctors. I don't know if you know that. Most places are not. You don't have to be in that profession to own something. So once I learned that, and he picked me up one day, it was like, hey, let's go to Rachel's, which is a strip club in West Palm, and eat lunch, because that was a place I used to go all the time. And we passed it, and I'm like, where the fuck are we going? He's like, oh, I got something to do real quick. So we ended up going to that clinic that he off of Commercial Boulevard. And we walk in, and I'm just like, holy shit, like there's patients, doctors, people, girls with folders moving. It's like a real medical place. Everything's moving. I'm walking outside, and there's cars going by, there's cops, and it's downtown Fort Lauderdale. And I'm like, holy shit, dude, like this thing is like up and running. There's business license, there's this, there's that. So I'm kind of like, okay, like this is legit. So we leave there and we go to a lawyer, because I think he's setting up his LLC, doing something. And he's like, tell this fucking idiot right here that this shit's legal. And he's like, nah, it's all legit. If you do it right, it's legit. We left there and went to an accountant for him to sign something. He says the same thing. The accountant's like, yeah, you can put all your money in the bank. You can pay taxes on it. You just got to file your stuff right. Have a good accountant, you're fine. So it's, wheels in my head are just turning. I'm thinking like, damn, dude, like this is legit. Like this is crazy. So I ended up agreeing, just loaning him the money to pay. I gave him 25 and he was supposed to give me 30 back. And so then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's like, I'm like, Zach, where's my money? And he's like, I'm not paying your money. And I'm like, why? He says, because you're going to go in business partners with me in Jacksonville. So I was like, well, what's the fucking plan? And then he tells me, I'm like, shit, let's do it. And that's how I got started.
So you got these pain clinics going, right? And I mean, look, I've been in prison with some of the people that were going to Florida and Georgia and different places. One of them was my buddy, man. We called him Bubby. Ended up dying in FMC Lexington. Ended up getting 20 years. So these pain clinics, they get started. How much money are you making?
So right out the gate, and I'm going to explain where all my problems came from and why we blew up so big. So everybody was in South Florida trying to compete. Like there was a bunch of small people. The George brothers were the big guys at the time, right? They call them the founders, whatever you want to call them, but they're not, because everybody recalls in the early 2000s, it was Oxys and there was pain clinics. And then it went from that to online pharmacies. So online pharmacies was like the thing. Then they shut those down. And then pain clinics came back, but they came back as Roxys, not Oxys, the 30s. So they just took a model that's been modeled before and done it. They were in the steroid business. So they had a footprint on getting started. Vinny was really big, the guy that we invested in the clinics down south. And Zach pretty much stole his model and everything else. And we went to Jacksonville. So Zach was like, I said, why Jacksonville? He says, because the money is in out-of-state patients. Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, Virginia, all those states. That's where the money's at. He's like, you can charge them more. They're going to fill in house. And what they mean by fill in house is we had a dispensary, our own pharmacy at the pain clinic. So they didn't have to go nowhere. They could see the doctor, walk right into our pharmacy and fill the script and leave. They didn't have to go nowhere and deal with no harassment. And he's like, they're driving through Florida. He's like, let's go to Jacksonville. Let's cut it off from the state line to West Palm is 6 hours. So we're going to save them a 12-hour round trip and harassment of law enforcement in Florida. And I'm like, that's pretty smart. So I'm like, okay, well, let's start advertising. Let's start pushing it. And so we agreed that telling the patients at the Fort Lauderdale clinic and Vinny finding out and kicking this, pulling everything away from us before we got everything we needed, all the paperwork, all the stuff to understand the whole layout. We were learning it all because Vinny was a heavy drug user. He was a con artist, just like Zach. Everything you can think about, he was a spitting image of Zach, probably a little worse. So we knew that he was screwing Zach and it wasn't going to end right. So the next thing we needed was patience. And we were scared to talk to the patients there, say, hey guys, listen, we're going to open up a clinic in North Florida to save you 12-hour round trip, blah, blah, blah. because we were scared they would say something to Vinny. And so we needed to get patients. So Zach came up with somebody came up. I don't know if it was Zach, but it was like the George brothers. Let's steal the George brothers patient list. So Zach was talking about getting a stripper to go work there, go pay a girl to go work there and print the list out. Well, come to find out, it was too hard. So we got in contact with Pete Tyndall. Pete Tyndall was this guy that had portable MRI machines. So in order to go to a pain clinic, you had to get an MRI. And so MRIs was like a big thing. Well, this guy, I didn't know at the time, I learned later on, the reason why he blew up and he was so big, because all his MRIs were fake. If you went there, you got an MRI saying you had all kinds of problems. So he had these big 18-wheeler, like semi portable MRI machines, and he set them up in the back of parking lots of strip clubs. And the reason why I did it was because he would have it running all day long and it looked normal. Then he would have that thing running all night long, 24/7. I think he shut down for 1 hour during the night and that's it, just to clean or do whatever. And so strip clubs stayed open until I think 4 or 5 in South Florida. So it looked normal of people in the parking lot moving around because the strip club's open. And he pretty much was seeing everybody that was in the pain clinic business, all the sponsors, because he wouldn't call the cops. It didn't look anything. They knew he was part of the deal. So he got all the corrupted people. So Zach worked to deal with him to get the patient list. So we got the patient list and I thought we were just going to call. Well, I walk into the clinic one day and they're telling everybody, hey, this is American Pain. Your next visit is going to be at Jacksonville Pain. It's a sister clinic of ours in South Florida. If you go to the American Pain in South Florida, being an out-of-state patient, you're going to be discharged. Well, you won't ever be able to come to us. So your next visit is going to be in Jacksonville. And everybody's like, holy shit, hell yeah. Like, we're going to save so much. They were so fucking excited. I walk in and I'm like, are you fucking serious, Zach? Do you realize what this is going to cost? He's like, what? We got to get paid. We got to do what we got to do. And I'm like, yeah, but this is the wrong way to go about doing it. We could just call them and say, hey, we're a new clinic open. If you want to come schedule an appointment, we're going to save you. So let's just say the very first day, the line was wrapped around the building. And the very first day, when all those patients didn't show up to American Pain, they started calling them and asking them, hey guys, like, where are you at? And they're like, oh, we're at your clinic in Jacksonville. So the George brothers, of course, call and act like they're a patient. And of course, they scripted the girls like, is this American Pain? They're like, yeah, we're, I know branch, da. So let's just say then the very next day they show up, I pulled a gun. And these fuckers are supposed to be gangsters, big steroid dudes, everything else. And they start threatening to burn the place down, extorted shit. So I put a gun to Derek's head. He calls the cops on me. And because I thought like, damn, dude, this is going to be free game right here. These are gangsters. These boys like to get down. Like they're coming in like 6 deep just on me. So I fucking pulled a gun, put it to their head, dude. And the fuckers called the cops on me. And that's how my whole federal investigation started.
So right there on day one, you're getting an investigation right away.
Because when they called the cops, they had a federal thing put on them. So we literally had to sit there until the FBI and DEA from South Florida flew up. So it took them like 4 hours to get there to Jacksonville. We had to sit there and wait for them to show up to take over the whole scene. And the reason why is because they told the cops, we didn't extort them. This is our fucking business. We own a percentage of it. So they lied and said they own a percentage of that business. So the feds are like, how the fuck did we miss this? We're watching you and we didn't even know this was one of your clinics. So what do you think they did, Chad? They started watching us thinking this is one of the George. Once they realized that it had nothing to do with the George brothers, you think the feds just walk away? No, they don't walk away. They continue to investigate. And here's the thing about it. We knew we couldn't put my name on that clinic because I was already under a federal investigation before this in the drug smuggling. I had sheriff's department. I had somebody special. And I had a couple Coast Guard people on payroll. I had video surveillance of the DEA wiring up my offshore boats. And I was doing dry runs, messing with them, coming back. They would meet me off the coast with their 37-foot cutters, their Midnight Expresses with the 50 cals on the front of it, bring it in, tear my boat apart for 4 hours. Like, I mean, I would fucking toy with them people. I was young and dumb, Chad. I didn't know. Local cops, I would beat them all the time. I had everybody. I had the baddest attorney. Like, you couldn't touch me in my hometown. Never been arrested in my hometown. But I didn't realize the feds. Nobody. I don't think us white boys know anything about the feds. So I was already been under a federal investigation, and when I walked away from the drug game, I think they kind of like just put my file off to the side. But then once they ran my name and then the whole incident went down, it just reopened it, and they were focused right on us. And that's where it all started, the very first day.
So the pain clinic, though, I mean, you said the first day, the lines all the way around the building. How much money is the place bringing in?
So I want to say the first day we brought in, because we didn't have, you don't make money on writing the scripts, the doctors. So if you just had a pain clinic where the doctor's seen, they wrote a script, and then they go to a pharmacy, you're going to make very small percentage. Like, it's going to pay for everything. You're going to put a couple $1,000s in your pocket a day, probably $5,000 or $6,000. But when you have the medication, that's where the money, that's 100% profit. It's like 300% on the dollar. So we didn't have that much medication. So I think the first day we made $25,000 profit. Second day was like 50,000. It just went up. Within 3-4 months, we had 2 other clinics opening up. In our prime, within the first 4 to 6 months, we were making, I think 4 months or something like that, we were making like $1 million a week. We were profiting, I think, $1 million a week or something like that.
How many people are getting a cut out of that? You, your partner, who else?
4 of us. So, but I didn't get the full million. I was 25% owner. Zach was 50, Jenna, but then Pete, like, it was split up kind of weird. So in my prime, I was probably making $600,000 to $800,000 with all my clinics and businesses I had going on. I was profiting $600,000 to $800,000 and it cost me about $250,000 to live with all my race cars, toys. When I tell you, we had everything size of Bugatti. I mean, Zach had a helicopter, we had Lamborghinis, Ferraris, houses all over, offshore plane, everything you can think about we had. I mean, we were balling out of control. The money was like you never seen before. We were making so much money, we quit counting it, if that makes sense to you.
Sometimes it gets boring having to count that kind of money, right?
Well, it takes too much time. And people don't realize money's so dirty. So we'd go to Sam's and buy the cheapest money machine, you know, like a Sam's like money counter. I mean, they're not much, $100. Literally within a week, the money from all the shit coming off the money, how dirty, it would tear the machine up. It wouldn't count right. So we got tired. I mean, it would take hours sometimes to count all the 1s, 5s, 10s, 20s. Literally would have a fucking table and it would be stacked in cash. I had a picture of all this stuff, but the feds kept it all and they won't give me all the good pictures back, which is fucked up. So literally we'd have tables full. I mean, we would put the 1s and 5s and shit, like just throw it in like bags. Like, we didn't even count the shit. Like, I probably had $60,000 put away for my daughter, all in 1s and 5s.
So what?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I would literally, all the 1s and 5s, like my cut, like we would just stack them up, match the stacks, and be like, okay, one for you, and like do it like that. We didn't even care if it was a couple. Who gives a fuck? We would just like literally throw it, and I just throw it in a bag, and I'd take it home, and I would put it in my daughter's savings. So all the 1s and 5s went straight to my daughter's savings account.
So what's actually being sold out here? Roxy's, what else?
So like I said, the pharmacy, we were trying to grow into selling a lot more stuff. So we're doing the 30s, the 15s, Somas, Xanax, Adderall, Viagra, because people were saying that their thing can get hard to older guys, this and that. So we were growing into like a lot of stuff, ibuprofen, Somas. We're pushing quite a bit of stuff. Like, we're literally growing as the doctors were making, like, people were, you know, getting prescriptions for other things. So once we seen the descriptions of what they were getting from the front, we'd write everything down and we started filling, you know, ordering the stuff and putting it in our in-house dispensary so we could make more money. Pharmacies is where the money's at. Pain clinics is not. Selling the pills, we'd pay, let's just say for a Roxy 30, we buy them average between 40 to 60 cents. We'd sell them $2. If that tells you the profit. It's out of control.
But let me ask you this, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Some people are dying, right? Some kids are getting high. Some kids are dying. You know, you see some addicts coming in there. You know, people are all twisted, beat up, teeth falling out. Does that ever enter your mind? Like, hey, man, you know what we're doing here? Some people are dying.
Yes. Very unethical. You're 100% correct. But at the end of the day, this
Yeah,
is
but fuck ethical. I'm talking about morally. Do you feel bad inside?
yes and no. You got to remember, I was a drug dealer before this, so it's kind of one of them things. Like, I didn't put a gun to their head. If I don't fucking do this, they're gonna go elsewhere. And I'm thinking the whole time, like, this is fucking nuts. The DEA is the one to give us our license. The DEA is the one that comes and inspects the clinics. That Congress passed laws for us to do this. And I'm like, they know about all this shit. And I'm like, this is crazy that they're allowing it. It's just like a casino knowing somebody's like has such addiction that they fucking sold their house with the kid and everything else. And like bartenders knowing that this dude's going to get in the car and drive drunk and he's fucked up so bad and they're still serving him drinks because they want that tip money. And I'm just thinking, like, this world is a fucked up world. I'm like, people don't care because it's money. At the end of the day, it's all about money. And I kept telling myself, like, well, the government knows about all this. They're allowing us to do it. They're giving us a license. They're giving us the pills. They're allowing this stuff. But here's the issue, though, Chad. In every one of those patients got up on the stand during trial. You think they told the truth to us and the doctor?
Of course they did. I mean, look, I got some clients that are involved in some stuff like that right now, and that was his argument. Like, I couldn't track everybody. I can't tell who's lying and who's not, because if I could, then, some people might not, get their medicine that really need it. I mean, that was his argument at trial. He lost, whatever. But
yeah, so my whole thing was, if you go and look at their file, they lied about everything. They passed a drug test. They didn't tell the doctor about none of this stuff. They work in a coal mine. They're fucked up. They come walking in like they're on a cane, faking it all. I can't prove if they are or not. Nobody came in and said, hey, I'll suck your dick for some pills. I'm a junkie and I'm going to go sell them. So it was kind of hard to, like, whatever. And I'm not allowed to look at the files. I'm not allowed to do none of that. That's between the doctor and them. All I did was run the clinic and financed it all. Behind the scenes. I didn't see the patients. I didn't like go in their charts. I didn't do none of that stuff. But did I see it? Did I see, like, this dude right here is a straight junkie and he looks like one? Yeah, I did. And but
talk about the doctor for a minute, because I read your PSR. You sent it to me, right?
Yeah.
So the one doctor, he's in there getting drunk, all kinds of shit, not showing up, shit like that, right?
So that became false. So during his lunch break, they would follow him to the wine and spirit store to buy wine for dinner that night. They found a bottle open in his car, but they never once caught him drinking on the job. Nobody's ever said they smelled alcohol on him. His assistant that was in office every day said they never seen him drink or smell it. Once during trial, they pulled the receipts. It was wine and stuff like that, champagne. And he would always say he'd go pick up at lunch for dinner that night.
How much was the doctor getting paid?
So we wanted to pay them by the hour. So we tried to pay them by the hour. And the problem by paying them by the hour is that you can't get them to see no patients. They're like, fuck it, I don't want to see 20 patients a day. I'll see 5. Well, when we every day we'd ask them how many patients before we hired them, how many patients you want to see a day, what is the average, blah blah blah. So every day they came in, we'd ask them kind of like, hey, how you feeling today? What do you want to see? Because some days they'd be like, hey, I want to see 50 patients a day. So we paid them by the patient. So we pay them $50 per patient. It was the best way. And that motivated them to see the amount of patients that we agreed to in the contract. So some doctors say, I only want to see 25. Some would say, I want to see 50. And some days we'd come in and be like, hey, I want to see 60 today. And so we would allow 10 extra walk-ins because everything was scheduled. So if we had some walk-ins, which we had every day, we would schedule 10 just for that one doctor. We'd be like, hey, listen, we'll schedule you in, but we can't promise when you're going to be seeing you. You'll have to wait all day. And that's how that worked.
Would sit there and wait all day because they knew they needed them pills.
Well, they went on schedule. So the schedule people are going to go first. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
So you came in as a walk-in, and if you want to get, if you want to be a walk-in and we tell you, hey, we got 50 people in front of you, we'd always tell them to come back after 2:00 is what we would tell them. So if they came first thing morning, we'd say, hey, at least come back around 2:00, and then they would wait. You got to remember, at this time, there's no monitoring system. The government doesn't want to do none of this. I've learned years later, the Sackler family lobbied Congress to exempt them from any prosecution, which is fucking crazy. So here you are knowing that this shit is the root of evil. And in Congress, exempts them from it, but not us. So they pay fines. I did the time. And for the same thing I did, CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid, you can look up their indictments. All they do is pay fines. I do the time. And if I had this information in my second case, I think I would have won, even with my attorney laying down, because once the jury sees that certain people are exempt and you can paint the picture, the reason why they did it is because of the sole purpose of, they knew that this was wrong and they were exempting themselves from it. The drug reps came and lied to my doctors. They tell them, see, people think doctors are supposed to know. They only know what's been proved by the government of the medication, and they read the literature that the government proves how to prescribe it. It's safe. It says in the thing, it's not addictive. It's like less than 0.5% addictive. All these things. So the doctor reads it, see how it's prescribed, and he prescribes it. I've never seen a drug rep come in and say, like, I'm going to give you a Rolex. I'm going to give you a paid vacation to the islands if you push more pills for me. They send we were one of the biggest distributors in the top 3, sometimes 1. So they would send their head reps out, like their head guys at like Purdue Pharma, to like sit down and consult with our doctors. And we hired Lewis Fisher, which is an ex-DEA agent for the pharmaceutical department of the DEA, like 20 years on the force. And he became a consultant afterwards, and he was fucking expensive, dude, like 15, 20,000 just to come every time to talk to the doctors. And he would come consult with the doctors and tell them, like, hey, you go over there, some of the charts, and they would go through it and tell them like some of the new guidelines, because during trial, they kept saying prescribing oxycodone outside the guidelines of medical practice. So our attorneys kept saying, well, where the fuck are the guidelines? Well, there's no such thing as guidelines. The guidelines is they hire a specialist, come on and say, look, what this doctor's doing is wrong, and this is how I would do it. We could hire our own specialist and say, like, okay, what he's doing here is right. I would have done, exactly this, but, blah, blah, blah. So it's a battle of the specialists. Trial, people don't understand. Trial is all on one thing. Who has the best movie script? Let's take that back. In drug conspiracies.
You don't have to take that back. I believe the same thing. I mean, I went to trial too. Whoever puts on the best show wins.
Well, I'm not saying I'm taking it back, Chad. What I'm trying to say is that only in conspiracy. So in conspiracy, so if they would have charged me for robbing a bank, not conspiracy to rob a bank because it's a thought crime. If I robbed the bank, that's different. But they hit me with a conspiracy. So in conspiracy cases, people need to understand is they get a movie script writer. And this is how conspiracies, I've picked a jury 4 times with the trial twice with the feds in it. So I'm seeing this shit. And they literally will go in there, and who can ever be the best movie script writer wins. And that's just how it plays. Whoever can grab the jury in and have that movie that grabs them and watches, it's over with. They're going to win.
So, Jason, eventually you end up getting convicted, right? Who tells on you this time?
So I had got taken in Georgia. I was shutting down my house after my clinic got shut down in Georgia. And I had a big house up there, and I'm giving all the furniture to my brother. So he's coming from Tennessee to grab it because I'm getting rid of the house and shutting down because I don't have a clinic. I'm walking away from everything. I'm just done. I still got tons of money. I'm like, fuck all this stuff. I'm out of it. They told me I'm going to prison one day, and I'm just like, all I want to do is sit back and relax. I don't want all this burden. So the feds knew I was going to be up there, and they knew I was going to get indicted. So they were waiting. They trailed us. They raided the house. I get taken in. Well, while they're doing this, I'm texting Brooke. I'm like, Brooke, they fucking got me, dude. She's like, fuck them fat pigs. Tell them to go eat some fucking donuts that I'll fucking order them for them and all this shit. She's going in on them. And I tell her, I'm like, if you don't hear from me, you know what happened. So they ended up arresting me that day. The story's pretty crazy. I've told it on some other podcasts. And so they take me in. They don't want my attorneys or nobody to find me. And this is crazy. So the very first county jail they take me to is on the north side in Georgia. It's Cobb County. And they fucking plug my phone in. So this whole thing about they can't get into iPhones is a fucking lie. Like, it's a lie. I don't care what anybody says. They want you to believe that shit. It's all a lie. I literally, from my holding tank, watched them take this box that they pulled out of a bag, plug my fucking phone in with a cord. Within minutes, they were strolling in my fucking phone, strolling and looking over at me. and they were reading my attorney's fucking message talking about donuts because I heard them talking about it in the holding tank. Every day we moved from a different county jail to a different one until we finally showed up to my first appearance like 4 or 5 days later. Not one phone call, can't get a hold of nobody. Nobody knows where the fuck I'm at. Luckily, Brooke is a gangster. We're sitting in the holding tank behind the courtroom. And behind every courtroom, there's a cage, where everybody sits in. And all of a sudden the door opens, all these attorneys come flying in. They're like, hey, who's who? And they're like, who the fuck is Jason Botchbeck? I'm like, me. And they're like, whoever Brooke Butler is, you got the best attorney I've ever seen. Somebody that cares. She's straight gangster, like they're telling me. So Brooke shopped around in Atlanta to find the best attorneys for all my co-defendants, all of us, because she knew all of us got taken in that day, and hired everybody. And she was like, I want the best attorney. If you're in trouble, who would you work with? And I didn't understand why she was building this team for me. So she built a team of attorneys and found out the best attorneys and then who they work with. Because I don't know if you know, attorneys have people they work with and they love getting joint cases together, just friends, and they do everything together, but they won't work against each other. So she built this coalition of attorneys for me, because if anybody was going to snitch or rat or start to turn, I would know exactly who it was before it even took place, really, before it was too late, and get ahead of it. And I didn't know this. So she hired Brian Steele for me. And so right out the rip, one of my co-defendants is talking about getting another attorney or whatever, not happy. And Brooke looked at me and said, yep, I told you. She's like, he's the first one to follow the cooperate. And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, I built a team for you. And the reason why I built this team was because I wanted to know who was going to cooperate so we can start building a defense against them. And so that was my first thing. One of them got a different attorney right off the rip, started cooperating. He got his proffer, and he started saying all this shit in the proffer. So I'm like, are you fucking serious? So my attorneys were like, I'm like, this is all a lie. And she says, you think you can get them on phone admitting to that? And I'm like, I don't know. So, well, Florida has, you can't record nobody without telling them. So she's like, Georgia has different laws. So I got in my car and drove 4 hours to Georgia. And she says, ping off of Georgia Tower. So I drove up there. I called him. And I got the recording on my phone still to this day. I call him and I record it. And he's like, I didn't say none of that. I'm going to call my attorney. I'm going to tell them they need to change that. They took my words out of my mouth and changed them. I didn't say that. All this, that's all a lie. I never said that either. I never said this. I'm just going to get there and tell the truth, Jason. And I'm going to tell them X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, okay, well, then there's nothing there. He goes, well, we didn't do nothing wrong. I can't handle doing this time, facing that much time. So they offered a plea deal, and I'm just telling them what happened. That's it. And I'm like, but all this shit's all lies. He goes, yeah, I know. And I'm going to tell them that right now. I give it to my attorneys, and they're like, yes, we got it. So my other co-defendant flops. They had a bunch of dirt on her writing a statement to my attorneys, because we're all going to work together and stuff. So to both of my main co-defendants, we were going to destroy them in case like the first case with Zach, the jail phone calls. And I was going to Atlanta, and this is where it all turned. It was right before trial, getting close, probably about 5-6 months before trial. It's taken $75,000 in cash up there. And I didn't tell nobody. I just got my truck and I hauled ass. I had to take them a payment. I get on the south side of Atlanta. It's 5 lanes on each side. I'm in the very 5th lane closest to in the fast lane. I watch the state trooper get on, and he goes all the way over. You got to remember, I'm a half mile or better in front of him. So as he comes over, I dive over. I'm way to hell. There's cars in between us. I dive over one. He dives over one. I dive over another one. He dives. And so I'm watching him do this. He finally gets to me probably about 5 or 6 miles down the road, and he pulls me over. I'm on cruise control the whole time, using my blinker. So I already know that he's pulling me over for no reason. Comes up, asks me license, registration, da-da-da. And he goes, so what's up? What are you doing in Georgia? I said, take care of business. What kind of business? I said, none of your business. And he says, well, man, I'm just trying to talk to you, Botchbeck. What's wrong? I said, I don't know. You're asking me personal stuff. Just write me my ticket. Whatever I did wrong, just give me my warning, my ticket, whatever, and let me go on my way. I'm just up here taking care of business. What kind of business? I said, personal business. He goes, what kind? I said, with my attorney, thinking it would scare him off. What are you meeting your attorney for? I said, now you're pushing the button. So I called Brooke, put her on speaker. I said, Brooke, this dude's wanting to know why I'm meeting my attorneys and stuff. Who? And I said, this cop pulled me over for no reason. So she gets in it with him. He asked me, can I search you have any drugs, weapons, or alcohol in your vehicle? I said, no, sir. He goes, well, can I search your vehicle? I said, Brooke, I just told him no. Why the fuck is he still fucking with me? So he finally talks to Brooke and lets me go. Well, like I said, I had $75,000, and they knew I had something in that truck. I get to my attorneys, and my attorneys tell me, we can't accept your money no more, Jason. And right then and there, I knew that they were hit. So I had to go home, give my money to somebody to get a check written. I had to give them 10% on the dollar. And I had to do that for the rest of the remainder of the time. And I had got a phone call from somebody, from an anonymous tip, that the feds had flipped my attorneys in Atlanta. They went to them and asked them if they knew where all my money was coming from. And of course, they probably said no. And they said, if we can prove one penny, and this is why Brooke did it pro bono. We can prove one penny ill-gotten gains, we'll hit you for money laundering. And they said to him, if you don't talk him into a plea deal, or if you don't fucking make him lose at trial and he wins, we're going to come after you for money laundering. So the second week in trial, we're actually just killing trial, beating every day. I had a GoPro. Every day I'd come out my break, I would video it all, touching it, because I was going to do it like my own personal documentary on it, so I can use to get back to Brooke and what was going on, update her of everything while it's fresh in my mind. Well, as soon as it come time for my co-defendants to get on stand and play these recordings and everything else, my attorneys laid down, wouldn't play the recording on Jesse, wouldn't show the signed affidavit that my other co-defendant wrote to my attorneys when they questioned her. They had a break one day during my when they were questioning Tara, and I remember going, where the fuck's my attorney at? Because they did a restroom break. I go into the conference room that they give to us, and he's in there with her attorney. And I walked in and her attorney telling my attorney, I thought you were going to take it easy on her so she can keep her plea deal. And I lost it. I tried to file a motion to the judge and all kinds of shit. And I told them we need to talk about something, and they wouldn't let me get rid of my attorney. My attorney just it was like everybody was on the same page, and I just had to sit there and just let it fucking play out. Brooke was like, listen, Jason, there's nothing we can do. We can only fight it on the appeal. And I had to sit there and watch it. And then during sentencing, I was going to hit Brian. I was going to take off on his ass. He sends his wife during sentencing. He wouldn't even show up to my sentencing. And she looks over at me when the judge said, you want an appeal? She says, Your Honor, we'll get back to you. And I was like, no, Your Honor, as they're dragging me out, like, no, I want an appeal. I want an appeal. She comes in the back into the holding tank, tells me, Jason, just lay down, do your time. You got nothing coming. That's what she told me. That's Colette Steele.
How much time were you sentenced to?
I got 15 years. So my PSI, very first one, was 43 points. So I got 38 for drugs because I maxed it out. I got 2-point enhancement for money and drugs. And I got 3-point enhancement for a leadership role. So it came out 43 points, category life. Category 0. You've seen that. So they did a revised one, which you got the revised one because the feds took my first one. The BOP did. They found it and took it. So they did a revised one and gave me 2 points for leadership role, which they never do that. I don't know if that's true or not. I've never seen nobody with a 2-point enhancement for leadership role. So it came out 42 points, 360 life. So they asked for 30 years and the judge gave me 15.
So when you get your PSR back and you're looking at 30 to life, what's going through your mind? Are you like, holy shit, my life's over?
No, when I got the first one, it says life. I called my attorneys and was like, what the fuck is this? Hey, you know what Colette told me? Because Brian would never talk to me after him, fucking me over in trial so bad. And so she said, Jason, she said, we told you that you're going to do a lot of time. I said, but life? She goes, it won't be life. It'll just feel like life. That's her words. It'll feel like life.
I mean, pretty stunning. How old are you when you're looking at this time?
30.
30 years old, looking at a life sentence in federal prison. You end up getting 15. When you get sentenced, you kind of like wipe your forehead off, like, holy shit, thank God.
So the judge is going, I had 7 counts. He gave me 15 years for every one of them. I think besides one, he gave me 10. And he's like, 180 months, run concurrent, 180 months, run concurrent. So I'm thinking like, damn, 180 months ain't bad. I'm thinking like 180 months is like, fuck, that's 6 months and days. I'm like, it can't be too much in months. And I'm sitting there thinking, and once it was all said and done, when I'm like 108, I'm like, holy fuck, that's 15 years. I'm like, and I start thinking like my daughter's 5. She'll be 18, 20 years old time I get out, depending on however it falls. I'm like, I start thinking to myself, I'm like, it's better than life. It's better than 30, but fuck, 15. I'm like, I don't know if you know, it's like when you get sentenced, you're so down and out, like you're gone. Like, it's like, you can't process nothing. if you can and you're just like, oh, whatever, that means you're too used to the system. It means you've been in that system your whole life. Like somebody like me that's never really been in trouble, I didn't know what to think. I couldn't think, Chad. I really couldn't. I couldn't comprehend if that makes sense to you. I couldn't
Well, I mean,
process it.
I got sentenced to 480 months, so yeah, it definitely makes sense, and I know exactly what you're talking about. You end up going to prison, 30 years old. You still got any money?
Oh yeah, I was a millionaire when I went in.
A millionaire when you go into prison. You don't really need anything when you get to prison, right? I mean, if you got money, you can operate. You can. The most important thing in prison really is food, right?
That's food. Just being able to email, phone, make phone calls, shit like that. Get money sent to people to buy books, stamps, and stuff like that because that's the currency. Um, just shit like that. Just so you can get haircut, buy people cook food and stuff, and I want to be able to get like nacho bowls and slices of pizza and shit from people and buy stuff like that. So I didn't, I had money. I didn't have to I wasn't stressing. Let's just say that.
So, what was prison like for you? Any trouble? Any problems?
So I didn't know what to expect. And when I was in Atlanta at the county jail, they put me in a pod. I'm the only fucking white boy, like the only one. I'm just thinking like, this is crazy. Like they walk me in and they try to put me in a cell with this black dude that just he's on trial for murder or case or whatever. And they're walking me and they're like, go in this room. I said, I ain't going in there. I'm like, what is he charged with? And they're like, he's like murder. And they got me handcuffed up, him handcuffed up. And I'm like, I ain't fucking going there. Take me to the shoe. Like I'm only living with my people. Like I already, been told kind of by a few people, like, like mitigate it down. When I was at the, county jails before, anytime, you celled up with other people and stuff, like it always caused a problem. So I was like, nah, just put me in the shoe. Fuck this. I ain't living in there, especially with a murder. I'm fresh. I don't, like I got enough street sense, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I haven't done, jail time really. So they gave me a room to myself. And I never had a fucking problem. Dude, was the only white boy in there, never had one problem because I tell people all the time, dude, just mind your own business. Don't be rubbernecking people's rooms, respect people, stay out the fucking way. Dude, they got so much shit going on. The last thing they're doing is looking at you if you're staying out the way. Don't look like a pussy. And I knew that. I mean, did enough crazy shit in other countries and whatever, but I wasn't prison smart. I didn't know what to expect. So I get moved to prison. I get to Oklahoma, the transit, and I literally walk in. Like, I get off the plane, go through the thing. They send me to my unit. And it's like, I think right after 10 o'clock count, I think they send us there. No, it was right before 10 o'clock count. It was like 9:30. And I'll never forget two big fucking white boys, dude, tatted out, swolled up, like 6 something, older dudes, like biker, big gang members, West Coast. I'll never forget. 2 Mexicans and 1 black dude. And they're waiting for us to come in. And they're like, you, come this way. And they're pointing at me and this other white boy. And they're like, you, hit the fucking door. And I'm thinking like, what the fuck is this about? And I'm like, dude, this is not going to go good. Like, I didn't know what to expect. So I walk over and they're like, hey, bro, like, what's up, man? We already checked. The guard said your paperwork's good. So listen, that's going to be your room. You're going to go stay with old boy. These are our tables. That's our TV. Mind your fucking business. Get out of line. I'm going to fuck you up. And I'm thinking like, okay, well, this is easy. This is cool. So that was like my first night in federal custody. And I was like, okay, well, this ain't too bad. Once I get to prison, I get to Oakdale. In this fucking yard, Oakdale was the worst prison I've ever been to. Like, it's politics, it's gang banging, but then there's a bunch of gay dudes on it, like a bunch of fags and stuff. So I didn't know what to think. Like, I get there and there's you sell up with your own people. The politics is crazy. It still run like it just got moved from a medium not very long ago, and it still runs like one. And it's the Texas family. So it was like the TSs, Tangos, Mexican Mafia, like the 5 families or whatever. So they were cool as a motherfucker. Everybody, whatever. But the white boys were fucking shit, dude. Like the Midwest white boy gang members, dude, are horrible, dude. And I'm in a room with nothing but gang members. And so I'm not a gang member. You notice, color hair, clean cut. I still don't have a tattoo to this day. I don't follow nobody. I'm my own leader. I don't take orders very well. So these boys are like trying to tell me how to do my time and shit, dude. And I'm sitting there watching them. They're straight junkies. I'm watching them sit there talk about how Like, I just, got money from my family. What are you going to tell your family? And they're lying to their family about being extorted, this and that. And I'm watching all this shit go down. And I'm like, I got to get the fuck out of this room. Like, and then I kind of realized most of these white boys are this way on these meth cases and shit, dude. And just all they think about is getting high, huff and glue. And I'm just like, is this going to be my life for the next 15 years? I'm like, this is fucking crazy. And they get caught with some contraband in the room, and I'm the fall guy because I don't do drugs. I don't contribute to their hustles. So they let me be the fall guy. So I come back out like 3-4 weeks later, and I'm madder than hell because they keep a lot of my fucking clothes and stuff. And they're like, oh, we knew you were coming back. I threw my shit down ready to fucking fight. And they're like, just calm down, man. And, just played it off like nothing happened. I'm like, whatever. I'm still trying to get out of this room. No rooms are coming available. And so I'm trying to keep it easy. I didn't get in a fight with one of the cellies, getting a pretty good fight. So they lock us up under investigation. So we sell up so we can come back on the compound. We come back on the compound, and that's when one of the main white dudes started like trying to like press up on me, tell me like, hey, bro, like you need to start doing X, Y, Z and this and that. And you can't be doing this and doing that. But one of the things I noticed in prison, Chad, is that the more you let somebody talk and you amp them up, the more you'll find out about them if they're hot or not, because everybody's got fake paperwork or they're not showing it all. Like, this whole prison politics shit is so outdated and bullshit. So literally he's fucking telling me how he's been in prison all these times, but he only got 10 fucking years. So I tell my girl, I'm like, run this motherfucker on Pacer. So she fucking highlights, she's like, oh, it's good. So she fucking sends this shit to me all in pieces, like in legal work. So I put it on his pillow while he's out on rec, and he comes back and he sees it or whatever, and all the cellies have already seen it. He goes and checks in and tells on me. Like, this is a gang member, like supposed to be hard, going around trying to be the head shot caller on the compound and stuff. So I blast his ass. And I finally told myself, fuck all these motherfuckers. Ain't nobody gonna tell me. I went to trial. So I told everybody from there on out, if you didn't go to trial, you can't check my paperwork. Go fuck off. And I did 6 months in the shoe. And that's where I got so cocky and crazy about it, because I'm like, dude, this head gang member was going to be the shot caller of the compound and was hot trying to tell me how to do my fucking time. And let alone, he's a fucking rat. And like, how did nobody see it? Then the one I pulled the gun on, they put me on the compound with this motherfucker at the George Brothers guys. And he's running with all the white boys. And I told the fucking head white supremacy dude, AB, I said, do you realize he's hot? They go to him. And they come to me up on the compound and pressed up on me and told me like, hey, you got 24 hours to prove that he's not, or your ass is going to get checked in. I said, come on, next move, meet me at the law library. I'm going to show you how smart you fuckers are. Like, I got mad, dude. Like, all this shit is all lies, dude. What people talk about, dude. And I've literally went down there and I put his fucking name in. I said, y'all did such a good job. Look right here, put his name in. It shows cooperation, 5K1. I said, there you go. So they ran his ass off. And he went in there and fucking told on me, dude. I did 6 months in the shoe for that shit, dude, for checking paperwork. And they got me off the compound. And guess what? All the white boys fucking put cop outs, the lieutenant told me. Because he was a lieutenant over at Bloody Beaumont, little short little dude, Steffler or whatever his name is. And he's like, dude, all the white boys ran you off the compound, dude. They're the ones put the cop outs on you, so we can't let you go back. So they shipped me to Yazoo. And from there on out, dude, I was hell, dude. I did not want to listen to nobody. Nobody's going to tell me how to do my fucking time. I told them if they start pressing up on me, I'm going to run their paperwork. So a lot of dudes left me the fuck alone.
You hear a lot of stories about prison and prison movies and YouTube videos. And this is the reality of prison, right? Dudes are like, hey, man, you ain't supposed to do this. You ain't supposed to talk about people. And that's all they do is talk about each other. And it's all, the whole prison mentality is out the window, especially for me, bro. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a business owner. I don't give a fuck about any of that stuff. But anyway, you end up making it through. How much time do you do total, Jason?
So when I did 8 years. So when Trump came in, he first step act, COVID hit. I was first time offender, nonviolent, had over 50% of my time done. I didn't work my way down to a camp. And so I got out on the home confinement. I was on house arrest for 3.5 years. And so I got a year off through Trump, and then Biden gave me the clemency. So I just got released 2 days before Christmas, 3 days before Christmas, I got released. on clemency, and I still had 13 months left to do. So I had a blessing from everybody, and everything worked out, as good as it could. So, but prison is nothing what people make it out to be. I do videos all the time talking about my case on YouTube about everything about my case. People argue with me all the time about it. And I'm just like, dude, I'm just telling you my story, how the feds did, broke in my phone, how I had a no detain order on me, how I knew that, how I knew that I was under a federal investigation through them running my tag. And then they had to fill out that no detain form, and it got back to me through one of my sources, and then I would play and do dry runs and shit, dude, and just to see, and they would raid my boat. Like, I tell all the stories. And then my lives, I do lives all the time, and everybody wants to talk about prison because everybody has this misunderstanding of prison. They're like, I only 130 pounds. Like, can I make it in there? I'm like, dude, you'll make it all day long. All you do is mind your fucking business. Don't be going talking to the police. Don't be acting hard. Like the whole thing, like I'm gonna find the biggest dude and take off on him when I get there. I've never seen that before, Chad. Never, not one day in my life, ever seen somebody walk on the compound and go in there and swing on the biggest dude to make his name. Like I just never seen it. Like I imagine it happens because people boost people up. In prison, everybody wants to watch everybody crash out. And that's just a fact. Everybody wants to put a battery in somebody's back to do something stupid just so they can watch them crash out. It's like, you're going to go here and fight this dude. You're going to go do this. You're going to do that. And it's like, well, how don't you fucking go do it?
Let them crash out, and then they can all talk about it, so they got something to talk about. But anyway, tell the people, man, how they can find you before we get ready to go, Jason. Where do you want them to look for you at?
My main page is TikTok. It's 8upjason. Instagram is 8upj. You could just put my name on anything, and it'll pull up all my pages, Jason Botchback. Check out my stuff. I promise you'll like my content. I'm working on something really big, working on supposedly a 5-season TV series right now, with a feature afterwards, which is a movie. I'm hoping to be able to break that really soon, the name and who I'm doing it with. I'm supposed to go meet with them at the end of the month, so that might take a picture with him and people will get a little understanding of how big this person is.
Listen, I'll put your links in there. People want to check you out, I'll have them go check you out. Check out your YouTube, check out your TikTok. I appreciate you coming on, sharing your story, sharing your experiences. I'm going to tell people, if you like what we're doing, hit that like button with respect. Blood on the Razor Wire TV. Until tomorrow, we're out.